You think she left because you weren't enough. But the truth is, she left because you showed her exactly who you were, and you were too available, too eager, too willing to shrink yourself just to keep the peace. That's not a love story. That's a slow surrender. And here's what nobody tells you. The moment you stop trying to make her stay is the moment you start becoming the man she'll spend years wishing she hadn't let go. If that hits something in you, if some part of you knows that's true but doesn't know what to do with it yet, subscribe right now. Not for me, for you. Because what I'm about to walk you through is the kind of clarity most men never get, and you're going to need these reminders. Bookmark this channel. Come back to it. The work starts today. Now let's get into it. Here's the thesis. Making a woman regret losing you has nothing to do with revenge, nothing to do with games, and nothing to do with making yourself into some performance she can watch from a distance. Here's what it really means. It means you become so deeply rooted in your own identity, your own standards, your own forward motion, that your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did when you were begging for crumbs of her attention. That's the whole framework. Everything else is just the mechanics of getting there. But first we need to demolish the misconception, because it's costing you everything. The misconception is that if you loved her harder, chased more, explained yourself better, or just waited long enough, she would eventually see your value. You think value is something you demonstrate through effort. You think if you send the right message at the right time, or give her enough space and then come back with the perfect energy, she'll flip. She'll recognize what she had. She'll come back. That's not how female psychology works. That's not how human psychology works. And deep down you already know this, because you've been doing all of that, and it hasn't worked, has it? Here's the hard truth. Women, and this isn't a critique, this is just how attraction is wired at a foundational level, do not feel desire for men they can fully control. Not because they're cruel, not because they want drama, but because attraction is fundamentally tied to uncertainty, to the sense that there is a man in front of them who has a gravitational center that isn't her. When you are endlessly available, endlessly accommodating, endlessly adjusting yourself to fit her mood and her preferences and her timeline, you eliminate the very thing that makes you compelling. You become predictable. And predictability is the death of desire. She didn't lose interest in you. She lost interest in the version of you that had no edges. That's not your fault entirely. Nobody teaches men this. You were taught that love means sacrifice, that the more you give, the more you're worthy, that laying yourself down is noble, and in the right context with the right person, sacrifice and devotion are beautiful things. But there is a difference between choosing to give from a place of fullness and giving endlessly because you're terrified of what happens if you stop. One is generosity. The other is fear wearing the costume of love, and she felt the difference. Women always feel the difference. So let's talk about why it happens. The root cause isn't that you loved too much. The root cause is that you outsourced your sense of self-worth to her. Your mood followed her mood. Your confidence lived inside her approval. Your daily emotional temperature was set entirely by whether she texted back, whether she seemed warm or distant, whether she laughed at your jokes or looked at her phone when you were talking. You made her the axis of your world, and when you do that, you communicate something devastating at a frequency she can feel but might never be able to articulate. You communicate that you are not your own man, and a woman cannot respect, admire, or desire a man who belongs entirely to her. She can control him. Yes, she might even keep him around for a while, but she won't respect him. She won't choose him fully. She won't fight to keep him. Because you don't fight to keep something you can simply reach over and pick up anytime you want. That's called emotional outsourcing. And it's the single most expensive mistake men make in relationships. Now let's talk about what it costs you. Not just this relationship, all of them. Because the pattern doesn't change until you change the pattern. You lose her, and you go into analysis mode, replaying every conversation, trying to figure out where you went wrong, constructing a narrative where if you just said something different in week 3, you'd still be together. Then you meet someone new, and you bring all of that same energy with you. A little more wounded, a little more guarded on the surface, but still fundamentally operating from the same scarcity. You still need her validation to feel stable. You still shrink when she gets cold. You still explode or collapse when things feel uncertain. And eventually the same thing happens. Not because you're unlucky, because you haven't changed the route. It costs you your trajectory. While you're obsessing over someone who's already moved on, you are stalled. Your business idea is sitting there. Your fitness is declining. Your friendships are getting thinner. The version of yourself you were supposed to be building is waiting on the other side of this obsession, and every day you spend orbiting her universe is a day you don't invest in your own. And here's what's almost poetic about this. In a brutal way, the moment you genuinely stop orbiting her and start building your own gravity, that's usually exactly when she notices your absence. Not because you planned it that way, but because authentic self-possession has a signal that women pick up almost instinctively. She'll hear through a mutual friend that you're doing something with your life. She'll scroll past something of yours and feel a flicker of something she can't quite name. She'll remember a moment from when you were together and wonder what version of you exists now. And she'll start to feel something she didn't feel when you were chasing her. She'll feel regret. But here's the thing you need to understand before we go any further. You cannot manufacture that. You cannot fake your way into that gravitational center. Women can detect performance from a mile away. If you start working out to make her jealous, she'll sense the motivation. If you post on social media to signal abundance you don't actually feel, it reads hollow. The only way to genuinely become the man that makes her question her decision is to genuinely become that man, not for her, but because you have decided that you will no longer live in a version of yourself that you don't respect. So let me describe him to you. Let me describe the man who never has to chase. He has a direction, not a vague aspiration, not a dream he talks about at parties, an actual direction, something he is moving toward with consistent quiet effort every single day. He wakes up and he knows what the day is for, not because every day is perfect, not because he never has hard days, but because his life has a spine that doesn't come from a woman's approval. He has standards that he enforces not through aggression, but through withdrawal. When someone in his life disrespects him, manipulates him, or treats him as optional, he doesn't lecture them. He doesn't send a long message explaining why that behavior hurt him. He simply pulls his energy back, quietly, firmly, with no drama. And that silence, that effortless redirection of his attention away from people who don't value it, that is one of the most powerful things a man can do. He is present when he's there, fully there, not distracted by insecurity, not performing confidence, not scanning the room to measure how he's being received. When he's in a conversation, you feel it. When he finds something funny, he laughs. When he disagrees, he says so. He is not trying to be liked. He is being himself. And the people who are right for him find that profoundly attractive. He doesn't need the last word. He doesn't need to win every argument. He doesn't need to explain himself to people who aren't operating in good faith. He knows who he is so thoroughly that external opinions, even from people he loves, don't destabilize him. He chooses. He doesn't wait to be chosen. He looks at his life, at the people in it, at the opportunities in front of him, and he makes decisions from a place of clarity and self-respect, not from fear of being alone or need for validation. And that quality, that ability to choose rather than plead, is the foundation of everything. You can be that man, not someday, starting now. Here's how. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided what they think of you. The ex who left, the woman who's keeping you in the gray zone, the person giving you mixed signals. Stop constructing your case for why you deserve her attention. She already knows what you bring. Explanation doesn't change perception. Actions do. Stop treating your healing as a performance. Do not post the cryptic quotes. Do not engineer visible change so she can witness your transformation. Go dark on social media if you have to. Do the work privately, intensely, for yourself. Real transformation doesn't need an audience. Redirect the energy. Every minute you spend analyzing her behavior, fantasizing about reconciliation, or scrolling through her profile, take that exact amount of energy and put it into something that builds your future. Your body, your craft, your finances, your friendships. Channel the obsession, its fuel. Stop burning it on someone who isn't in the room. Rebuild your standards from the ground up. Write them down if you have to. What kind of relationship do you actually want? What do you refuse to tolerate? What does a woman have to bring to your life for you to genuinely choose her? Get specific. Get honest. Because if you don't know your own standards, you'll default to accepting whatever you're given, and whatever you're given will reflect the standards you haven't set. Fill your life so fully with purpose and people who value you that absence from anyone who doesn't becomes easy to enforce. Not painless, easy. There's a difference. You can grieve someone and still not go back. You can miss the idea of what you had and still know that going back to the same dynamic would be a betrayal of the man you're becoming. That's the work. It's not glamorous. It doesn't happen in a weekend, but it compounds. Every day you choose yourself, it gets louder. Every day you stay in your lane, you become harder to forget. And here's where we land. You are not a man waiting to be chosen. You are not a man hoping that enough time passes and she realizes her mistake. You are not a man who measures his worth in whether she texts back. You are the answer, not the answer she's looking for. The answer to your own question. The thing that your younger self was praying someone would show him. You are capable of becoming so grounded, so purposeful, so quietly powerful that the people who underestimated you will have to sit with that choice for a very long time. She may come back, she may not, but here's the truth you need to carry with you from today. When you have genuinely done this work, when you have rebuilt yourself from the foundation, you will look at whoever she is now and feel something you didn't expect to feel. You will feel grateful. Not bitter. Grateful. Because she leaving was the thing that forced you to stop settling for a version of yourself that was too small for what you were always capable of becoming. That is the real story. That is what this is actually about. Subscribe to this channel. Not because you need motivation to get through the day, but because the world is constantly going to try to pull you back into smallness, back into chasing, back into begging, and you are going to need people in your corner who tell you the truth without softening it to protect your feelings. This is that corner. Come back here when you feel the pull. Come back when the urge to reach out to her gets loud. Come back when you lose the thread. You're not here by accident, and you're not alone in this. Welcome to the work.